everybody, and welcome to the Torras AI podcast. Today, we have Tyler Merritt, the Chief Technology Officer at UneeQ. Tyler is a leader in conversational AI focused on integrating emotional connections into digital experiences. With a background in technology and a bachelor's degree in English from the University of West Florida, he worked at SAP as well. Tyler's passion for technology and innovation drives his mission to create more human-like AI interactions. Tyler, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Jordy. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So tell me, as the CTO of UneeQ, what do you do? What is your main mission there, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, well, UneeQ creates digital humans. Digital humans are a specific discipline within the larger umbrella of, let's say, avatar technology. We use CGI techniques coming from the video game and Hollywood industries. We're not using deepfakes or kind of those neural video GANs. And we specifically focused on human appearance, right? We're not making fantastic creatures, robots, aliens, other types of things that you might consider avatars. We are focused on hyper real, but not too real, right? Not indistinguishable from reality, because if a person isn't confident that they're talking to an AI, that's where unease and uncertainty creeps in, right? So we want to make our users comfortable. They see something that looks human and acts human, but they know that it's AI. They know that it's not human. So there's no deceit, right? We want to make sure that they have confidence and trust. It is a machine, but it can be a very natural interaction that's very familiar. So that's why digital humans specifically, right? We say that term quite intentionally. It's not just marketing fluff. It kind of signals to our users we take the conversation very seriously. The digital human can be spoken to naturally, and it will react appropriately. And it is still very clearly AI, which helps our users, understand and feel confident and trust in the type of interaction that they're having.
That's amazing. And I remember with my previous company, right? One of the things that we had to deal with is the avatar, right? Having the character that is kind of speaking. And even back in time, Gartner made several studies and publications where basically they said that every AI company should have the avatar built in. So that was at that time the position of AI. And when we were doing all that, one of the stuff that we had to work on is what is called the uncanny valley, right? So
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that you are familiar with this term. So how do you go? And the uncanny valley for the audience is basically the more human you look like, the more engaged you are with an AI, to the point that it is almost human but not human, and then it becomes uncanny. It becomes
Right.
actually terrifying, right?
Right.
So how I've seen well, for your website, you have plenty of demos over there. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing how that works, and you have 100% overcome that problem. Your interfaces are amazing and very, very, I would say, friendly, and the customers, engage with that very efficiently. But how do you do that?
Yeah, well, artistic talent, I want to give appropriate credit to our team of artists. They are world class. They have worked on, major Hollywood titles. They've worked on AAA gaming titles, and a lot of those things in entertainment, right? There is a particular thematic that a producer, a director is trying to achieve, and so the skill of our artists in making something that looks incredibly real and human like, but still not going too close to that line of the uncanny valley. When they have the skill to make something that I think is indistinguishable, right? You've seen somebody with just a pencil, draw, reproduce like a photograph, right? So
Right.
the artists that exist in the world today, many of them have the talent to create art that you can't tell isn't a photograph or isn't from real life.
Correct.
But there you go. That's where we walk close to the uncanny valley. So being able to know where that line is and get close to it, but not too close, right? But right up to where customers are saying, wow, it looks really natural. It looks like a person. That's what we want, right? So I say that if we do our jobs at UneeQ very well, then our digital humans won't look incredible or outstanding. They'll look natural and normal. And so the goal is to do something that is, in the end, unremarkable,
Hmm.
because we want people to just naturally ease into a conversation, right? And so when I see you, for instance, I see a person. I don't see something that I fixate on and freak out about as being unusual. I see a natural human being, and it's easy to have a conversation with that. And so that's the goal, right? You have to walk the line of not something where people spend the whole time looking at it and going, is that a real person? Right? Because if they're distracted by trying to figure out if it's AI or not, they're not in the conversation. They're not actually engaged trying to achieve whatever outcome the business has set the digital human out to do, right? So the more real an avatar is, the less valuable and useful it is, because it's distracting the user, right? They're
That's
spending half
right.
their brain power trying to, figure out what's going on. And they're not in the conversation. So yeah, I think credit where credit is due. I'm not an artist. Our team is incredible. They are, they deserve all the praise and the awards that they can get, because they're very good at what they do. And our job, I think, is to help our customers not be overwhelmed or awed or impressed or anything. Honestly, it's to just be like, yeah, it looks like a person and it can help me. So as soon as we create a digital human that someone is comfortable with, right, and then it actually is useful to them, it helps them achieve some business objective, right? That's where I think mass adoption in society of these AI systems will really happen, right?
Totally.
Because right now AI is for very technical people. We are using it a lot, but most of the people in the world are doing other things, going about their lives, right? Not paying attention to AI, nor should they, right? So we need to
Correct.
create the digital human in such a way that a person wants to engage, and that's the trick, right? So that's
Yeah.
what we focus entirely on: is can we create an altogether unremarkable, normal, natural conversation that very quickly you just forget this is you don't
Yeah.
worry about that. Is it AI?
Yeah.
You just like talk, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so that's the goal.
And now we are in this world with generative AI, right? And of course,
Yes,
text is being generated, but images are being generated and video is being generated.
right.
But you guys, you are not in this space. You say, hey, video generated is so real that it might distract. Plus, video and images take a long time to generate versus what you guys do. And it's obvious when you see your website and the amazing customers that you have is that everything is in real time. So
Yes.
when you hear the voice of the AI talking to you, you see how the avatar perfectly moves
Yes.
the lips, the mouth into synchronize that. And historically with CGI, that would take hours of computing. So man, how do you guys do that? That's kind of a
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah, and that is the secret sauce really at UneeQ. We have an animation engine which is in the AI space. So it's a machine learned model that
Mhm.
drives what's called 3D point cloud data. And everybody who's a listener is probably familiar with like autonomous driving. It's been in the news for a long time,
Mhm.
and they've probably heard about needing to gather three-dimensional data points from the real world so that the car can avoid obstacles, right, in a
Yep.
3D space. Well, the digital human in a virtual 3D environment has similar points that drive, its appearance. So its face has points like the point of the nose, around the eyes, etc. Your hand, of course, has the joints. So there's a point for every knuckle, so to speak, and
That's
how
right.
we move our fingers in and out can be described sort of mathematically as points moving through space. So now we get a little technical, and the model, it can drive these points, which are similar in nature to like the way a large language model generates tokens from a statistical probability. We can sort of do the same thing, right? The finger can't move in every direction,
Nope.
right? It's attached to my hand, and so it does have motion, but not infinite motion. And so the model can be used to describe that motion, and the renderer can render the actual skin texture, and the lighting in the environment is fixed, right?
Yep.
It's not moving around. So we can do shadows and highlights in real time. Whereas these neural GAN techniques, like you say, that render the entire video, they have to render every single pixel, right, of
That's
the
correct.
scene.
Yes.
And they do it, if they're doing it at 30 frames per second, and you have a high definition screen, which is 1080 pixels, 1280 pixels, sorry, it's 1280 wide, 1080 tall. Having to do all of those pixels 30 frames a second is an enormously expensive computational task. Whereas our technique only needs to calculate the point in space and move that point. And so we're able to do real time because technically there's a lot less data that needs to be generated, right?
Absolutely.
The other benefit, of course, to our system is that we exist in a 3D world. And that means when augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, these types of things start to happen, our technique fits into that because it's already three-dimensional. Whereas a video GAN and any of these other avatar companies that are just producing videos, they're producing two-dimensional outputs, right?
Correct.
That won't go into a 3D world without a re-architecture, probably a lot more investment, right? It's much different. So their whole data set that works for generating 2D videos won't work at all in 3D. You'll go into a three-dimensional thing like with your goggles, and you'll just see a two-dimensional window in your three-dimensional space.
Exactly, which is right? Why am I wearing this in the first place, right?
Yeah. So I think that it's a long-term play. It's an investment strategy and a business strategy that I think will play itself out over time. I don't think in the near term there's going to be a lot of video GAN companies and a lot of products, and probably very expensive to just create 30-second clips and stuff. And businesses are going to have to decide if that is the solution that they want, or if what they're trying to achieve is customer interaction with artificial intelligence. Because I think the standard for conversation between people isn't just, I want to see a video of this person, right?
Correct.
Even though I see you in 2D right now on my screen, I know you exist in 3D. And if you turn around and you grab a book off your shelf, right? Or you pick up that guitar and you start playing, it makes sense in my mind. And I think there's a depth of that conversation that exists, that if we take that away and you just make these videos that you see popping up, they're impressively real. But I think the value is, for me, it's not really revolutionary, right? It's just a version of YouTube that we've had for 15 years, but generated by a machine, right? But there's nothing sort of new about it in terms of how it affects people, right?
That's right. That's correct. Yeah. And as you hear by my accents, English is not my first language, right? And
what is your first language? Spanish? Portuguese?
No.
Guessing.
Okay. Guess another one. What do you? What
Torras. I was looking at your last name, Torras, and I just tried to put you in that realm. But what is it?
All right. See, if you go to Barcelona, and you yell out loud Jordi, 50% of the male population is going to turn his head around. Like, oh, is that me? It's a very popular name. And my mother tongue is a language called Catalan. Catalan.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm a native. Even when I am in Spain and I speak Spanish,
Yes.
people will recognize I have a Catalan accent when I
Yes.
speak Spanish. So that same accent goes into English, and because it's not, it's not exactly the most spoken language in the world.
Yeah.
It's I heard I'm from Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, Russia, Brazil, all kinds of things. So it's always nice
Yeah, well,
to ask that question.
I am a big fan of cycling, global cycling. So the Catalan region of Spain is always appears in the big races, right? So
Oh, here we go
it's an area of the country and it's very famous, and so I'm
for
familiar with the
bikers, huh?
pride, yeah, the pride
Yeah.
of that region and all the
Oh,
flags
we
that they wave during the races.
absolutely the
Yeah.
flags, and then we have the ocean, but also we have the mountains. So it's a
Yes.
beautiful place, I
Beautiful
believe.
area. Yes, I agree.
All
I
right.
agree.
So I was getting into all these things because as a foreign speaker, for me, it helps a lot having a conversation where I can see the people speaking because I look at the lips and how the lips are moved. That gives me information that complements what I hear in
Yes.
order to understand better a foreign language. So you
Yes.
guys are helping that as well, right? Because the voice is there, but by moving the lips in a way that is consistent with the sound that is being produced, that creates additional information for the user, making it easier to have a conversation. For me, getting into a phone call where there is only voice and the telephone is not very good, it's very hard. I
Difficult.
mean,
Yeah,
the
difficult.
difficulty on understanding English goes on top of I can't see anything, so I don't see
Right.
anybody's moving the mouth, so that gives that information. So your technology is amazing in that sense. It produces this consistent movement that helps ultimately understand the message and AI. So I think it's amazing. Versus, as you said, generative uh, images, it might be impressive until you say, wait a minute, does that person have like 6 fingers, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, no, it's a great point. I speak an additional language in addition to English, and I do the same thing. I fixate on people's mouths when I'm
That's
hearing
right.
that language. So I completely understand what you're
What
describing.
what what language do you speak?
I speak Japanese in addition to
Oh,
English.
wow. Okay. I think it's considered by some military organization in the US the most difficult language to learn.
Oh yeah, yeah. It
I think
was.
they have
I
different
mean,
layers.
they
Layer
do.
layer one is like Spanish, that's easy. And then it goes to 3 and 4. I think 5 is the most difficult language, like the for everybody traveling. So
Yeah.
congratulations.
Well, thank you.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. I would say I'm still learning. I don't think you're ever done when it's
With
such a
every
different. Yeah.
yeah, it's not because it's essentially difficult, right? As a linguist myself, I work with AI and natural language processing. What I learned is all human languages are equally complicated. The
Yes.
problem is that they are complicated in different ways, right?
Yes. Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
So
Yes. So anyway, yes, the digital human has to have the lip sync for any language that it's speaking, and this is another artificially intelligent, machine learned component of what we do. What's interesting with language, right, is that there's no such thing as words coming out of your throat. That it sounds, right? If we
mhm,
really want to get to a level of biology, what's happening
yes,
is there's vibrations going on with your vocal cords, and you're making these sounds very rapidly, but
yep,
matching the motion to the sound is quite a challenge, especially because in some languages, right, the tongue helps a lot to make certain sounds, but you can't see it all the time, right? It's
that's
it's
right.
happening inside your mouth. Your tongue is touching the top back of your top teeth for some sounds, bottom rolls back sometimes, right? In Spanish, of course, the rolling of the R. Um,
That's right.
exactly, exactly. And it's something that you can't model visually with some of those neural GAN techniques necessarily, right? Because
Right.
a video GAN takes training data. And if we're not seeing inside, well, then there's no data to
Correct.
produce, right, an outcome on. But again, with CGI, that we can move that point in that 3D space.
Oh,
And even if the user doesn't see the tongue, right, even if the digital human is speaking, there's these small kind of motions around the mouth that
got it.
are very subtle. But I
Yep.
think that people were so highly conditioned to
Absolutely.
motion of the
Yep.
face
Yeah.
that we pick up on all those very, very subtle interactions. And that's another part of that uncanny valley thing. If something is off, if a
Hmm.
human expression isn't natural, right? We notice right away,
Correct.
immediately.
We
People
see
don't even need to be
some
trained.
contradiction. When we see a
Yeah,
contradiction, it's like, well, these eyes are slightly off, and that's what they
right.
when they become terrifying. So that
Terrifying.
this is when the absolutely the uncanny valley, and then when you this art and this talent it comes
Yeah,
handy.
yeah, exactly. So, I think that, not to belabor the point too much, but the three-dimensional data and how things move, over time, I think it's going to be easier to modify that for all the different languages that exist and different faces that speak
Mhm.
those languages. It's a simpler mathematical problem than gathering all of the training data to simulate all of those faces, right? We
Correct.
have already tremendous bias in many of our language models for English, for instance, because
Mhm.
many of these models were created by people who speak
Yeah.
English, right?
Yep.
It's the same with videos. Like all of the modern nations that have the programming capabilities to build these models, they happen to be, we're ignoring large populations of countries that don't have this infrastructure to train, and we don't have a bunch of YouTube
Correct.
videos of people that
Yep.
represent all of the communities. And so there's already bias in a lot of the models, right?
Yep.
So, with 3D and with CGI, we don't have that bias, right? We're
Right.
describing motion, and motion is more or less universal, right? For two eyes, a nose, and a mouth, two hands, kind of thing. You know, it's pretty much equal. Let's say it doesn't have any sort of like bias one way or the other. There's certain gestures that are specific to certain cultures, right? Like bowing in Asia
Yeah.
is specific to those communities in that culture. But the way that I would bow as an American functionally is the
Yes.
same as a
Hmm.
person in, of any Asian country's descent would bow, right? The
Hmm.
motion. So I think like long term, our technique is going to prove the right way to achieve what we're trying to achieve. And I don't think that there's a different path to the same goal, right? Different
Wow.
goals, but not the same goal.
Fascinating. So you use AI and machine learning to recreate a 3D world that
Yes.
then is projected into a two-dimensional world, which is what happens in each of our eye versus generative AI tries directly to go into pixels directly. And
Yeah.
and and that is when it's like, oops, there's one more finger here,
All
just
right.
because
Because why
they don't
not, right?
have a 3D description of what a human body should look like in reality, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why they have these challenges. Wow, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
It's interesting.
Tyler, could you tell us some successful use cases where your customers have been using unique technology, which is unique, right? That's an amazing. That's a very good name for your company.
Thank you. Yes. So I'll tell you about two of our customers that we really are just so happy to be partnered with. One of them is Deutsche Telekom, so the
Hmm.
major telephone company of Germany, and of course, other countries in the
Right.
European
Yeah.
Union use the service. And DT put a digital human on their customer-facing portal to help customers decide which wireless package and
Hmm.
which accessories or options were right for them. Okay. In the traditional e commerce model, when you go to a website, you see little tiles of options and descriptions. right?
Correct. And
A
maybe a
lot of,
picture
and maybe
or
a
some
picture.
buttons
Exactly.
and prices,
Exactly.
stuff like that.
A lot of information, a lot of technical terminology depending on the company or the service.
Correct. Yep.
And what happens is, and this is in the data, when people are uncertain, they will tend to be conservative in their choice. So if there are 3 packages, small, medium, large, and obviously the large one's the most expensive, but the customer isn't sure that this is what they need, they tend to purchase the smaller option because they're hedging, or they don't buy anything at all because they just don't know.
They don't understand.
They don't understand. So what a traditional e-commerce website that has products that aren't, immediately understood by the shopper, they see these lower conversions and they see a trend towards purchasing the lower dollar value package. Now, DT put a digital human in an A/B test scenario, and the digital human performed 500% conversions over the traditional site, and the ARPU, the average revenue per user, increased because customers were purchasing additional accessories with their wireless service. For instance, you can buy internet service for your home, and if your home is a large property, you might need wireless repeaters to make sure your wireless coverage extends all over your house, right? And so the digital human could have a conversation with the buyer and explain what is a wireless repeater, what is an access point, why do we have packages that are megabits per second versus gigabits per second? What does it mean? These are the types of questions that a lot of people have, because these are quite technical terms when it comes down to it, and we overwhelm shoppers with these terms and the choices.
Correct.
So the digital human performed way better than the traditional e-commerce portal. And now Deutsche Telekom has deployed their character, Ben, inside their customer service application. Customer wide, everybody has access to Ben and can ask questions about their existing plan. When it's time to upgrade, Ben can offer them perhaps a discount or something, depending on what the promotion is. That is an enormous nod of confidence towards the digital human as the gateway or the visual presentation of conversational artificial intelligence, right?
Wow.
So huge success.
5x in conversion rate thanks to your technology. That's amazing.
It's pretty amazing. And the thing that we're doing, right? Like, of course, the digital human, awesome. Conversational AI, awesome. But on a psychology base, all we're helping people do is address their concerns.
That's right.
Right? They are confused about something. I don't know. Like, for me, and I like to tell this story, right? I'm a very technical person, but there is a store that I can go to and be completely overwhelmed and just, I have no idea what's going on. And that store in the United States is Sephora. It's a makeup store that my wife and my daughter want to go to almost every weekend. And I will walk in Sephora and I'm just like completely like a lost child.
What is the right? Where is the user manual here?
What are all of these things? I have no idea. They're all very expensive. I don't want to touch anything because I'm worried I'll break it. And it's overwhelming, right? But if you are, I'm sure if anyone listening, you're a woman or you're into makeup, you can be anybody into makeup. For you, that's your native language, right? You would go into Sephora, you know what all this stuff is. But if I am trying to purchase a birthday present for my daughter or my wife, I'm going to make a bad choice because I have no idea what any of those things are.
I think I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. And so a digital human for me would help me navigate the complexity that I perceive inside a cosmetics store. Right. And it also, and here's the key difference, right? I don't feel comfortable finding an employee inside Sephora who's, an 18-year-old girl, let's say, and I'm a dad in my 40s. I don't want to stand there and talk to this young teenager about makeup. It feels like I feel like an idiot. I don't feel like, I feel like I'm being judged, right, by the person, even if they're not, even if they're the nicest employee in the world. This is how I feel. And so I don't do it. I don't try. So if a digital human existed and I could ask that digital human questions, all my dumb questions, I would be able to purchase something with confidence for my daughter for
Absolutely.
her birthday. And so I think it's a perfect example of how somebody like you and me, we both have skills and we have a lot of experience in our bubble, right? And then you
Absolutely.
you step out of your bubble into some other bubble and you are just a fish out of water. And
Yep.
so it's a universal feeling of being intimidated, having doubt, right? Feeling
Yep.
judged, feeling embarrassed, right? For all of us, I think we can connect with that emotion, right? At some point.
Absolutely right.
And so what we're doing with the digital human specifically, I think, is overcoming those issues of doubt, intimidation, of uncertainty, right? Building trust because I'm not being judged. This thing is not
Yep.
like, look at this guy walking into my store, right? Like it
How dare
feels,
you?
those things are gone, right? Those kind of, and mostly it's probably in our heads. Agreed? Like I'm probably not being
Agreed.
judged by the
Yes.
person, but I feel I am, and so it prevents me from
You
doing something.
feel insecure. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, how I need to ask some basic questions, but how basic is too basic, right?
there you go. There you
And I
go.
believe with any shopping experience, either online or in a store, if you have the need and you have the money and you don't buy, is because there's a question that got an answer.
That's right. That's
That's the
exactly
reason that
it.
you are not buying. Is like, because I'm not sure. Because
Right.
I'm not sure, I'm not buying, and say, well, I'll buy tomorrow. And then tomorrow you're gonna buy maybe from another store. And that's
Maybe.
where conversion comes out to, is here and now. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna solve all your questions. You will have 100% uh, um, safety that what you are buying is what you need, and you will know why you're buying, and you will learn along the way. So that's amazing.
Yeah. And that's,
Wow.
in a nutshell, that's what we are really trying to do, is help people overcome doubt, intimidation, and help them build trust and confidence in with machines, with AI, right? And there's an advantage, as I said. AI doesn't judge us because it's not of us. It isn't biased, or it doesn't have any kind of
Nope.
care or concern about what I'm doing in my life, right? And so
Nope.
it frees us from some of that baggage that is probably in our heads, right? But is real. If I feel something that's a real feeling, whether the situation is really that way or not. And so overcoming that, sometimes AI is a better option, right?
That's right.
Particularly when, for me, I go back to the Sephora example. I'm just not going to talk to one of their employees. I'm sure they're all very nice. It's not a judgment against them, but it's a me
you
problem.
you
And
don't
I'm not going
feel
to,
that comfortable being there, like
yeah,
exposed.
yeah, I just don't. And I understand that that's my issue, but it's like, okay, how do I circumvent this issue? And if there's another option, like the digital human, that's where I think we
Absolutely.
see the increased conversion. I don't think we see it from people who are comfortable shopping with the existing systems and who are happy to talk to human salespeople. Those markets, those customer bases are being serviced by
Mhm.
these businesses, and businesses want to grow. How do they grow? Not from their existing group of customers that everything's going well. They have to bring new buyers into the fold, right? How do we access those new buyers? Well, those guys aren't buying today, probably for some reason like my reason. They don't want to walk into the store and talk. So we need a different way to engage if we want to grow our customer base, right? just doing the same, more of the same, hiring more people, making a better e-commerce website, if that was going to work, it would have been working all along, right? So the thinking needs to change, right? Marketing and
Absolutely.
salespeople,
Hmm.
keep doing what you're doing with your brick and mortar retail and your online shopping for those customer segments. But if you want more customers to join, they probably need to have a new channel, a new modality through which they can engage with the business, right? And so
Absolutely.
again, I don't know why I'm beating on Sephora so much, but Sephora is doing well, right? With the female buyer. I see so many women in those stores when I go with my wife and daughter. They don't need our help for that customer profile, for that,
Yeah.
that buyer. But for me, if they want to help me start transacting more, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
dads, right? There's a whole lot of dads.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like maybe think about a different way to engage that audience, and that's how you grow.
Yeah.
Agreed. So
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
about, you're not doing anything
Or I don't
wrong.
know what is
You got
your
to do something
experience,
different.
right? But you
Mm-hmm.
enter into a guitar center because you want to buy an electric guitar for your nephew.
Yeah.
Unless you know the vocabulary, you're going to need help because
Yes.
they're going to say, okay, what you want a Gibson or a
Yeah.
Stratocaster? And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh
Blah,
boy, here
blah,
we
blah,
go.
blah. Yeah. No, I did that last year. We bought a guitar. First time I'd ever bought a guitar. My daughter wanted to play. I just walk into a local shop and I'm like, I don't know, the not
Exactly.
too
So
expensive one.
being
That's
helped,
what I want.
exactly. So being
Yeah.
helped. Well, the first question is going to be for the shopper say, okay, how much you want to spend on that, right?
Right.
Because that tells the story on what kind of thing you want to buy
Right.
and what is your situation.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Tyler, arigato gozaimasu.
Really
Uh,
touched my stay.
thank you so much. I want to be respectful with your time. Just one last question. How do you see
Sure.
the future of AI?
Big question, isn't it? So the near term future is that the models, like the large language models, there's a technique called RAG for retrieving facts from like a database, for instance.
Mhm.
These tools are getting very, very good, very, very rapidly. And so the very near term future will be many more types of experiences that are powered by conversational AI, whether that's text only in like a chat interface, that's very
Mhm.
traditional, that's still going to happen. Voice, lots of call center stuff will probably migrate to being mostly AI.
Mhm.
I think, in China, I heard that most of the call centers are already powered by voice assistants. And even China has like some of their news media, they're using the neural GAN technique to produce videos. You can do it much more rapidly, get information out. I think that that's all underway, and we're going to
Yeah.
be, it's just going to be more of that over the next 12 months, which, in my opinion, is a good thing because artificial intelligence gives us a quality control layer. We can guarantee that every customer is receiving the same information, right, in the same
Right.
way.
Mhm.
And you don't get this variance in the quality of customer service, right, which is nothing. It's not a criticism of the human. It's that there are so many humans, and in order to get all of their knowledge up to the same level, it's a huge it's a huge challenge and task,
Absolutely.
right, to
Absolutely.
train all of your
Yep.
people equally. That's I'm not even sure it's possible to nail that perfectly, right? So companies have these kind of benchmarks. So AI brings in this across the board level playing field
Mhm.
of veracity in the responses that I think
Mhm.
will be appreciated by all buyers and
Yep.
customers of different businesses. But the longer term future of AI, honestly, it'll go robotics, 3D. There's already, some example videos coming out of like MIT, Boston Dynamics. Tesla has a
Right.
robot in the factory. And so, I see that robotic assistant in your home doing dishes, right? I don't know if that's 10 years or 20 years. I don't know the time scale, but offloading a lot of labor type tasks that free us up to engage in arts, right, and sports and just community, socializing with your community. I see that happening. And then, of course, for me, NASA on my
Hey, here
hat,
you go.
like
Yes.
my big like hooray moment is seeing humans get into space and a permanent base on the moon or on Mars or something like that. And over the next 50 years, you can't see humans colonize the stars without AI. I
Yeah.
think that there's not enough of us that we can like lift off of the planet on rockets and go establish communities to deal with some of the challenges, such as the loneliness. It's
Yeah.
going to be really lonely to be in space if you're like the first 10 humans to go colonize Mars. And so having the ability to talk to like a digital human, in our case, about how you feel, you really feel that way. The thing you're talking to is artificial, right? It's not a replacement for human to human interaction, but it helps you process real feelings of isolation and loneliness and sadness and things like that, because talking helps, right?
Yeah.
That's why we have therapy, and that's why people are encouraged, talk to your friends, talk to your family, because it helps, it matters. So I can imagine a future where conversational artificial intelligence starts to fill that need of that kind of that internal confidence
Yeah.
that you get from talking to like a best friend or a brother or sister, somebody you're really close to. If you are for whatever reason separated from that person and you're missing that need, right, filling that
Absolutely.
need.
Yeah.
So for me, I think like long term, I see AI being just a
Wow.
part of our lives in the way that dogs and cats are a part of our lives. I have a dog. I talk to my dog. It doesn't talk back.
Okay, tell me if he does.
Yeah, exactly. That would be
I totally want
uncanny
to record
valley.
that. Oh
That would be
yeah.
shocking, right?
Oh hell
You'd be
yeah.
like, uh-oh. So I see it as a good thing. Obviously, the world, some people in the world are talking about the potential pitfalls and dangers, and we need to be responsible with our technology. But overall, if you look back at human history, technology has helped us all along the way, right? There's
Absolutely.
been some things have been used for bad purposes, but those things are just things, and AI is just a thing. It's not itself evil or bad. It's not anything. It's an
It's a
echo of
tool.
humanity. Yeah.
It's a
And
tool.
it's a
And
reflection of us.
humans, we are animals that make tools. So
Yeah.
that's the one we just made. And
Yeah. And
let's
it's
use
it's
it.
super useful. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
those are my views, like near term, 5 years, 10, 20, 50, something like that. We'll see this continue to
Yeah.
go. And I'm not the one thing I'm not clear on is when humanity will universally agree on AGI. So when
Mhm.
will artificial general intelligence be achieved? Different people have put forward different, the criteria
Definitions
upon
or
which they will
criteria.
say this is AGI. Um, I don't even know that all of us will agree on that. So, when AGI happens, whatever that is, it might not look like the movies, right? It might not be Skynet or
Hopefully.
whatever the Matrix, the actual machine world that controlled that. I don't see that will be our future, right? I don't see why it would be.
No. Yeah.
Things are getting better. People are getting healthier. Medicine is more prolific. Food scarcity is going down globally, right?
Yeah.
Compared to
Yeah.
where it was 200 years ago. Are there challenges? Absolutely. But in general, you and I, we live like kings lived 200 years
Compare
ago.
compared to
Agreed?
200 years.
I
100%.
mean,
Totally. Yes.
life is getting amazing for a whole lot of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and it should get amazing for everybody, but it's not like it sucks for everybody, right? And sometimes the media tries to put that idea in our minds. Oh,
Yeah.
everything's
Yeah.
bad, and it's like,
In reality, the planet is more peaceful,
yeah,
more advanced,
as a global
healthier than
measurement,
it was
yes.
200 years
Right.
ago, 100%.
Right.
Wow, that's
So
amazing. Listen, again, I want to be respectful for your time. So thank you so much for all these reflections. And for the audience that would like to learn more or contact you, I'm assuming UneeQ.com. That's where you guys have your website.
That should redirect to our actual website, which is digitalhumans.com. So UneeQ
All right.
makes digital humans, and all digital humans are unique. And so,
Oh, wow.
yeah, digitalhumans.com is where you'll find us.
Digitalhumans.com. So easy
Yes,
to do. All right.
yep,
And I'm assuming, Tyler, you have your LinkedIn page. So maybe
absolutely. You can find
some
me on
audience.
LinkedIn.
Okay.
It
So you
should
will
be
get
super easy.
awesome.
Tyler
You guys
Merritt,
have
you'll
the
find me.
link directly to Tyler to find it.
Yep.
Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, Jordy.
All right, and for the rest of the audience, get ready. We have a very special guest in our next episode of Torras.ai podcast. Have a wonderful rest of your day.